Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
Another milestone was made here this week. The kids just keep on getting it done here in Franklin County. Want to thank our underwriters here at the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston. Also by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, by Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turner's Falls, and by Lisa Albert, Albert Hearing Services, 33 Waddell Street in Greenfield. You know, we're very fortunate to be able to have an opportunity to do all this with you each week. Want to thank our producer, John Meisner, for all the great job that he does, and we hope that our friend Philippe Simone gets better. In the meantime, we do have Ian, who is helping us out this week here on our show. So why don't we get things started for you here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. It all got started last Monday. It was a boys basketball matchup between the Franklin County Tech School and Dugan. And it turned out to be a miserable night for shooting for the Franklin County Tech School. They suffered only a 2-point loss, but boy, if they made their shots, they would have won this one. Final score was 57-55. Dugan outscored the Eagles in the extra frame of overtime 6-4. Franklin County Tech, I can tell you right now, they had the opportunity to win this one. They only were 4 for 16 from the free throw line. That was a huge problem. But what about the shooting? 23 of 78. 78 shots on the night, and only 23 of those fell. They get beat 57-55. Despite the Eagles' struggles, though, they do have good defense. And their coach said if they were able to make their shots, it would have been a great all-around effort. Garrett Cole finished with 12 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 steals for the Eagles. Marcus Sanders ended up with 12 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds. He also had a steal on the night. Also, Sim Manietti ends up with 8, Max Charest ends up with 7, and Jared Perusi ends up with 6 for the Tech School. Well, it was a tough loss for the Greenfield Green Wave boys basketball team last Monday as they took on Smith Academy. Final score was 54-49. Now, despite their opportunity to take the lead in this one, and they really had a chance to walk away with a victory as well, it turned out to be a tough one for them as they end up losing to Smith Academy. You know, they had their many chances to be able to pop it in, and they just weren't able to get the buckets to fall that night, and they ended up losing. Turned out to be a very big loss for them because Smith Academy is in their division. Top 2 teams in each division at the end of the year, they get to automatically go to postseason play. So now Smith holds that game in hand against Greenfield. Well, if you ask Coach, he'll tell you straight up, they got to start shooting the ball. My team has got to stop being so hesitant. Somebody's got to take the ball, and someone's got to shoot it, and someone's got to make these shots. He feels like his team just isn't aggressive enough on the offensive end. Julius Brewington finished with 10 points in the loss. Jared Hart with 7. Owen Phelps ends up with 6 as the Green Wave gets beat last Monday by Smith Academy. Hunter Campbell ended up having the big day, though, for the Wave. He ended up with 19 points in the loss. Too bad because Hunter surely did have a big game for his team in the loss. And unfortunately, there were a couple of other guys that Thomas was hoping they would step up in this one. Well, Pioneer, they have no problem putting the basketball in the net. They end up beating Hopkins Academy 66-45. Pioneer turned in its best defensive effort of the season, but they also were still able to score those points as well. You know, when they pulled off that 10-point lead, it only got better because in the third quarter, they outshot Hopkins 20-5. So a very nice effort by Scotty Thayer and his kids up at Pioneer. The great defense that they've been looking for throughout the year really showed up in this one against the Golden Hawks. Garrett Cody, ends up with 22 points in this one. He also had 6 assists to lead Pioneer. The Panthers also had a nice night with other good things, too. You know, this is a beautiful thing right here. How about 18 assists tonight and 25 field goals for this Pioneer team? They really share the ball very well, and that's one thing their coach is very pleased with, and that defensive effort was important, too. Zach Fox, he ends up with 12 points and 8 rebounds. Troy Emond with 8 points. Jared Hubbard with 6. Also 7 rebounds and 6 assists. Ryan Underwood knocked 6 points in. Also Jacob Fuller ends up with 2 points and 7 rebounds for the Panthers. They win again. Well, Frontier had no problem against Mohawk last Monday. Final score was 72-26. 7 players with at least 5 points for Frontier in this one. Karsten Carey ends up with the big night with 20 points. No other player had more than 11, but that's because there were so many kids who were able to step up and score in this one. Some of the kids that scored included Owen Morris, he ends up with 11 points. Peter Carey with 7. He also had 7 assists. Kalen Evans with 7 points. Gabe Gaczynski and also Zach Norminger, he ends up with 6 points. And Brett Robinson ends up with 5 points. Great job. A great effort by Frontier. The only guy that scored in double figures for Mohawk on the night was Owen Cross. He ended up with 11 points. So the Warriors end up doing really what everyone's doing. They're having a tough time against Frontier. Frontier is definitely the team to beat. Well, Raegan Hickey, she is looking for a special milestone this past week, and the thing was she able to pull it off? And here's the deal. As of Monday, Raegan Hickey got closer to trying to be the all-time leading girls scorer at Greenfield High School, and that is right now in the arms of Annie Brissett from back in the 1990s. But the question is, will this record be broken? Well, Raegan Hickey ended up with 24 points on Monday night as they took on Pope Francis, and Greenfield picks up the 63-47 win. Hickey will definitely have an opportunity to break that record later in the week, and we'll talk about that because this game did take place where she was able to have an opportunity at breaking that record last week. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But a nice night for her. Hickey ends up with a triple-double. How about 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 24 points. Sam Smith with 20 points. She also had 7 rebounds. Katie Hazelton ends up with 11 points and 4 steals. Olivia Joy and Tina Reed, they end up with 4 points and 4 rebounds apiece. Nice win for Greenfield over Pope Francis. Well, on Monday it was Marhar, an easy win over Turners Falls. Final score was 76-36. It was definitely a night where 12 of the Senators end up scoring in this one. And the only thing we can say is that Dabney Rollins ends up with 18 points. A great night for her for Turners Falls. Lindsay Whiteman ends up with 9 points. It was a tough loss for Turners Falls. They get beat by a very good Marhar team. Well, also in girls basketball, it was McCann Tech taking on Frontier, and Frontier came up just short in this one. Final score was 52-46. 4 players did all the scoring for McCann Tech, but we can say that Frontier did have a nice game by Amelia Sobieski. She put together another double-digit outing, ends up with a nice night as well, and also with Marie Demon and Ariana Walker picking up 9 points apiece, and Caitlin Mackin with 4. Sobieski was still able to get 13 on the night for the Red Hawks. Well, Ware High School ended up beating Mohawk. It was a great defensive effort by Mohawk in this one against a pretty good Ware team, and they end up only losing by 10. But we can say that what turned out to be a very nice job by Mohawk in this one in the loss. As we look at a couple of kids who ended up not getting their name in that Pioneer versus Hopkins game, it was Ryan Potter and Jacob Fuller with 3 and 2 respectfully. Also, Liam Curtis ends up with 6, and Jared Hubbard ends up with 2 in that game. In the Smith Academy Greenfield game on Monday, a couple of kids who ended up scoring as well. Nate Hazelton had a couple. Also, Jake Sack ended up with 2. Ryan Cody ends up with 3 points for the Wave. In that Mohawk Frontier boys basketball game, Jackson Hicks ends up with 4 points. Cam Lococo ends up with 5. Will Guyette with 2 and Ruben Bassett with 4. For Frontier, some of the guys who also got in with some scoring were Alex Sharp with 4. Also, Timmy Barrington ends up with 3. And Owen Wolkowitz ends up with 3 for Frontier. In that Greenfield girls game against Pope Francis, Olivia Joy ends up with 4 for the Wave. In that Frontier McCann Tech, that girls game, come with the girls that were able to score. Charlotte Doulette ends up with a point. Also, Marcy Ring with 2, Olivia Dean with 2, and Abby Roberts with 2. In that Mohawk Ware game, the leading scorer was Grace Poplowski with 17 points. Also, girls who scored in that were Maya Lashir. Her and Ashley Reynolds each had 4, and Grace Ward ends up with 1 for Mohawk. In that girls game between Marhar and Turner's Falls, Eliza Johnson ends up with 3, Carissa Fleming with 3, also Allie Murphy with 3. Once again, Dabney Rollins ends up being the big scorer with 18. Want to welcome you to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. We get together each and every week with you right here on GCTV, also on the FCAT over in South Deerfield. Thank you so much for being a part of our show here today. We have lots of fun, and we want to thank our underwriters. 4-Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. By our friends over at Albert Hearing Services, 33 Waddell Street in Greenfield, and by our friend at Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue A in Turner's Falls. As we continue on with our show here today, we want to let you know that we're up to Tuesday, and that's where the girls have a chance to really do some celebrating. Well, of course, we always say that about girls celebrating, but the one thing that we're trying to shoot for later in this week is whether Raegan Hickey will be the all-time leading scorer at Greenfield High School. Well, it was the ice time for the Greenfield High School hockey team on Tuesday. Or was that a Wednesday game? That's a Tuesday. All right. I'm sorry. We got to go to Tuesday. Sorry about that. Little veteran experience goes a long way in girls basketball, where the Franklin County Tech girls team, they end up getting to the 500 mark with a nice 49-23 win over Westfield Tech. You know, according to their coach, Sean Knightley, he says really all the veterans are really starting to step it up right now. And with them doing that, we're starting to win some games. And right now, their team is at the 500 mark. Junior leader, Jordan Hurlbert, also Jocelyn Crowning Shield and Isabel Duga combined for 43 of the 49 points. Hurlbert ends up with 16, Crowning Shield with 14, Duga with 13. Very nice to see those 3 ladies step up. They are going to be able to continue to give their team an opportunity to get to tournament if they can play games just like this. Great job, ladies. Mount Everett ends up handing Pioneer girls a big loss. Final score was 55-35. Pioneer was led by Olivia Rowe with 12 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Seth Scoville ended up with 12 points and 7 boards, also 4 assists. She even had a pair of steals on the night, too. And Paige Loftman, 9 points, including a 3-pointer in this one. So Pioneer gets beat by 20 to a very good Mount Everett team. Want to run down a couple of the other girls that didn't get mentioned in that girls basketball game on Wednesday, where Jemmy Cruz ends up with 4 points and Desiree Doan ended up with 2. Well, we got to the ski slopes on Tuesday night. That's right. It was always fun when you can get them all there. And the race was won overall by Corianne Delaney, as she ended up skiing into the top spot on Tuesday night. The Frontier Junior ended up opening up her her season this year with her first big win, and it turned out to be pretty nice for her. She ends up with a time of 25.56 seconds to put her overall as the number 1 in the giant slalom over at Berkshire East. Delaney edged runner-up Grace Crozier of Minnechaug in this one. After opening the season with a win in the slalom last week, Mohawk's Taylor Loomis, she ended up 3rd place in this one. The sophomore led the Warriors. That was a nice time of 26.51 seconds, just ahead of her teammate Aaron LaFond. The senior was 4th with a time of 26.62 seconds. Also, Frontier had 2 racers that made it into the North Division top 10. Ariana Hillman ended up nabbing 17th overall. Also, 10th in the North with a time of 28.78 seconds. Teammate Maddie Raymond was next, 23rd overall, but 16th in the division with a time of 29.95 seconds. Callie Price was the team's number 4 scorer. She ended up in the 59th position overall. She had a time of 36.81 seconds. But Mohawk's 1-2 punch, That's Loomis and LaFond. They led the way, and they ended up doing very well, winning the top spot for the second straight week in a row. You know, right now, if you ask their coach, Brandon Basias, he'll tell you that so far there's not much to complain about. This team's really been getting things done. They're buying in. They're doing what they need to do. They're training. They're doing the right things. So a big congratulations to those ladies from Mohawk Trail Regional High School. Well, on the boys' side, Mohawk's Danny White was the fastest local finisher in the field. The senior skied to the 9th place overall finish and was good enough for 6th place in the North. He had a time of 36.98 seconds. 7th grader Weston Den Oden, he ended up putting together a second straight strong performance for the Warriors. That's right, he moved up the standings to score 12th place overall, 7th in the North, with a time of 38.06 seconds. Also, Nick Stravino ended up making it 3 Mohawk skiers in the top 10. Yep, that's right. Stravino ended up 10th in the North, 18th overall. He had a time of 40.59 seconds. Teammate Bennett Basias was the team's 4th scorer, 21st place overall. He had a time of 42.64, and he ended up 12th in the North. But hey, nice job again by the boys at Mohawk. So boys and girls really doing a great job this season. Also, Frontier's Ben Martino. He ended up moving into the top 10 in the South standings. With his overall performance on Tuesday, Martino posted a time of 42.93 seconds, putting him 24th overall and 10th in the South. Well, it was all about the mats, too, on Tuesday, where the Franklin County Tech School took on Granby in boys wrestling. Yep, that's right. They win 7 of the 8 matches. Nice wins for the wrestling team at the Tech School. By the way, as of last Tuesday, they improved to 9-1 overall, 3-0 in their league. Winners include Kyle Burnell at the 138-pound. Also, Brody Wood at 170 pounds. Josh Burnell, he wins at 120. Colin Pettis at 132. Noah Fuse at 145. Aiden Stacy at 195. Cam Tuttle at 285. They picked up victories for the Tech School. In girls swimming, it was Palmer. They just edged Turner's Falls 65-61. Jade Tyler posted a big afternoon in the pool, though, qualifying for the West Central Division II meet in a pair of events, but Turner's came up short. Final score in Palmer, 65-61. Tyler won both the 100 breaststroke. She did it with a time of 1 minute and 18 seconds. The 200 individual medley at 2 minutes and 31 seconds. She also qualified for postseason's meet in both of those, and the Thunder right now are 4-3 as of last Tuesday. Turner's received individual victories from Allison Wheeler. She ended up winning the 500 freestyle with a time of 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Olivia Whittier ends up capturing the 50 freestyle with a time of 29.21 seconds. Wheeler, Whittier, Tyler, and Lillian Poirier, they end up capturing the 200 medley relay with a time of 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And the quartet, yep, it was Tyler, Whittier, Wheeler, and Abigail Johnson. They took the 200 freestyle relay with a time of 2 minutes and 6 seconds. On the boys' side of the pool, it was Palmer taking care of Turner's Falls, but for the second time in a week, Cam Bradley made history. And he did it on Tuesday. The Turners Jr. picked up his second school record in as many meets and added the new mark in the 100 backstroke. That's right, he did it. And not only that, but he qualified for the West Central Division II meet as well. He had a time of 1 minute and 3 seconds. Gives him another school record. This one is the 100 butterfly. And he has the backstroke too. So wow, this guy is on fire this season. Great job, Cam Bradley. Bradley had the lone individual win of the day for the Thunder, but hey, turned out to be something special, didn't it? Nick Martin, he ended up having a nice one too. Dom Carmi ended up getting in there, and Jack Batala, they ended up not winning, but they still did very well in the pool for the Turners Falls Thunder. Want to welcome you to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. Don't forget about our underwriters. 4-Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston. Also by Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls. Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. And by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. As we continue on with the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, we now are sliding into Wednesday. Wow, we're really moving things along here, but things are starting to pick up with our sports as the week goes on here. And Greenfield High School ended up having a tough game on the ice on Wednesday against a very good Drury team. Question is, will the Wave be able to stay perfect? Well, they were down 2-0 and 1-0. They came all the way back. They scored 2 unanswered goals. They pick up the victory over Drury High School. Nice win for them up in North Adams, where Greenfield, as of Wednesday of last week, 8-0-2 overall, 4-0-2 in the league. You know, it was very difficult play, according to their head coach. Adam Bouchard said that, yes, it was a long bus ride, lots of penalties in this one. Kids played really sloppy in lots of different places, but in some ways they were able to find a way to win. This is what this team is all about. They have guys who can put the puck in the net, and that's exactly what they did to be able to win this one. So a really nice win for the Wave, which, by the way, they outshot Drury in this one 35-21, and Riley Drew ended up with 20 saves in the net for Greenfield. So a very nice job done by the Wave. Also in wrestling, it was Gateway taking on Turners Falls back on Wednesday. Quentin Romer earned the first pin of the first period, picks up a nice win for the Warriors. He pinned Gateway's Nico Paulson at the 160-pound class in a time of 1 minute, 11 seconds. Also, Dylan Woolridge ends up earning a 6-3 decision at the 170-pound mark. He ends up winning as well. And then a couple of forfeits in there. That's Will Van Fleet and also Lillian Van Vliet. They both ended up nabbing victories via forfeits. Well, Frontier ends up picking a win, 54-23 on the mat. They end up beating South Hadley. Nate Austin, Jackie Frong, they got pins in this one. Austin ended up pinning in the 220-pound class at 213. Frong, he gets a pin. That was in the 285 weight class at 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Edo McMillan scored a 17-2 technical fall. He picks up a victory as well. Eric Truesdell wins 16-6 in a major decision as well. He did that at the 160-pound class. Well, in high school basketball on Wednesday, it was Angelo Thomas, the new coach of Greenfield High School, going up against his old team, Hopkins Academy. They come to the gym at Greenfield High School at Nichols Gymnasium, and boy, it turned out to be an early game clinic. And it was not by the Wave, it was by Hopkins Academy. That's right. This is a game that Angelo Thomas definitely wants to forget. And it really came down to a nice early start for the Wave as they end up scoring the first bucket of the game 7 seconds in. And then the team totally went cold the rest of the quarter. And believe it or not, with the hot play of Hopkins Academy, they were leading Greenfield after 1 quarter on their own court. Final score ended up dictating a different scene, but it was 28-2. Greenfield down 26 after 8 minutes of play. They scored the first bucket of the game and went cold the rest of the first quarter. Well, when you got to try to climb out of a hole like that, it can be very tough. And Greenfield ended up climbing back. They got it down to 4 points right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, but the final score ended up being 61-47. Greenfield, after scoring only 2 points in the first quarter, scored 45 over the last 3 quarters. They honestly outplayed Hopkins Academy 3 out of 4 quarters, but when you dig yourself a 26-point hole, it's very hard to come back. And that's exactly what happened in this one. Greenfield ran out of gas, and they weren't able to contain the sharpshooters of Hopkins Academy. So Hopkins picks up a big win over their ex-head coach, Angelo Thomas in Greenfield, on Wednesday. Caleb Graves, he ended up scoring 20 points, had himself a nice night. So that turned out to be one of the big things for them. You know, there was another guy who was a little injured in this one. Andrew Siaglo from Hopkins was hurt. He still poured in 18 in the win for Hopkins, even injured. This kid is totally legit. Looks like a couple of guys who stepped up in this one for the Wave. Julius Brewington picks up 11 points. Hunter Campbell with 9 points. Owen Phelps with 6. Nate Hazelton and Ryan Cody each had 5 for Greenfield. Greenfield loses at home. They lose 2 in a row. They lost to Smith Academy on Monday, and on Wednesday, they get beat by Hopkins Academy. This was Angelo Thomas's ex-team that came in to Greenfield. Other guys who ended up scoring in that Greenfield game, Jake Sack ends up with 3, Mason Meadows with 2. He was hurt in this one. That was a big loss for Greenfield. Jared Hart ends up with 4. Tough one for Greenfield. But we got some good news about Greenfield basketball on Wednesday night. That's right, Greenfield girls. They took on Mohawk up at Mohawk Trail Regional, and Raegan Hickey ends up becoming the new leading scorer in Greenfield High School history. That's right, Raegan Hickey is now the new sharpshooter for girls basketball up in the rafters at GHS. We won't have a final number for her until the end of this season, though, but we can say that she did surpass Annie Brissett. So a great job done by Raegan Hickey. And, of course, they picked up the 26-point win on the road as well. Sam Smith, she led all the scorers with 19 points for Greenfield. Yes, they qualified for postseason play as well, picking up their 10th victory on the season. Katie Hazelton, 9 points. Raquel Provost ends up with 5, and of course, Raegan Hickey ends up with 13 on the night too. So as of last Wednesday, she's at 1,340 points in her career at GHS. Congratulations to Raegan Hickey. Couple of girls who did well in that game for Mohawk include Grace Poplowski. She got 15 points on the night. Grace Ward ends up with 8. Also, she had 21 rebounds and 5 blocks. Great night for Grace Ward. Ashley Reynolds ends up with 4 for Mohawk. Well, Putnam, they took on Turner's on Wednesday night. Turner's Falls Thunder girls looking for their first victory of the season. Oh, my goodness, it couldn't have got any closer than this. They get beat in a tough one. Final score in Springfield, 43-42, they lose by a point. Tough loss for the ladies. The Lady Thunder gave it their best. And so sad, too, because that would have been such a nice victory for those guys, and it just didn't happen. Just makes you bummed out when you hear how it didn't work out like that. You always wish that things would have been a little better. Also, Ware took on Frontier. They ended up having a game as well, girls basketball. And yes, it looks like a nice victory for Ware High School, 50-40, where Ware outscored Frontier in the fourth quarter 20-3. So this game was led pretty good by Frontier in this one, but when you're outscored by 17, that turned out to be the difference in this one because they were leading by 7 going in to the final 8 minutes. You know, what happened was, according to their coach, Rick Record, they just started to create turnovers. And they made our team turn the ball over too many times. Unfortunately, we could not close out and defend, and our rebounding greatly impacted the remainder of the game, and unfortunately, they just weren't able to convert. But Amelia Sobieski ends up with 14 points in the first half. She ended up with 18 on the night. She also had 11 rebounds, and Olivia Dean ended up with 11 for Frontier. Run down some of the other girls who end up scoring in this girls' game. Ariana Walker ends up with 2. Caitlin Mackin with 3. Charlotte Doulette with 1. Marie Demon with 5. So they end up doing some scoring in this one. In that Greenfield Mohawk girls game, Also, some of the girls who scored for Greenfield include Brianna Rivera. She ends up with 2. Raquel Provost with 5. Madison Kucheski with 3. Olivia Joy with 2. And Eva Pruitt-Dahl ends up with 3 for the Wave. And Sydney Taylor end up with a couple, as well as Tess Rancourt for Mohawk. Also in the game that was also played between Pioneer Valley and Putnam, Emily Tibbetts ends up with 2 points in a tough loss that Pioneer could have had, and they get beat by 1. Also, Steph Scoville ends up with 3. Autumn Flagg ends up with 1. High scorer in the game was Paige Loftman. She ended up with 18. Olivia Rowe with 14. And also, Alina Sesajanin. She ended up with 4 for the Lady Panthers. Also in that game that we had between Greenfield, they ended up having one other guy that ended up scoring in that one where they ended up getting beat. He ended up with 2 points, and that's Cam Baird. So there you have it. We've already made it through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week. And the cool thing is we've had an opportunity in this time to be able to talk about 2 people breaking records again in Franklin County. That's right, Cam Bradley. Yes, he's having a year, man. He is lighting it up in the pool for Turner's Falls boys swimming, and also Raegan Hickey, now the new high scorer for females at Greenfield High School. She still has plenty more games left to be able to shoot the ball and put it through the hoop between now and the end of the season. And of course, you know they've already qualified for postseason play, so they'll be playing hopefully right into March. As we continue on with the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. Want to say thank you to our underwriters here today, the 4-Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, and by Sean Hubert and the staff over at Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant Avenue A in Turner's Falls. They're awesome. Support them because they support your children. Also want to say thank you to Johnny Meisner. Great job there, doing a good job as our producer here today. I am Bobby C. Want to welcome you here to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. We slide into Thursday, so here we go. Well, it turned out to be a couple of really good basketball teams and boys basketball going at it. The Frontier boys, who are having an unbelievable season, they take on a good Marhar team. But it was too much muscle, and Frontier pulls off the 57-42 victory over at Goodnoe Gymnasium. 2 premier defenses going at it, and yes, there really wasn't much stopping going on in this one with that 57-42 win. Both teams seem to have the same type of style where they like to be able to run, but they also like to play good in-your-face defense. Well, it turned out to be in the way of the Red Hawks. They end up winning this one. But nice job, because they were up 30-11 at intermission, walking in with a 19-point lead into the locker room and held that team to 11 points. If you can hold Marhar to 11 points, that's a really good defensive effort, and that's exactly why Ben Barszewski was very pleased with the way his team ended up playing. Karsten Carey ends up with 22 points, 10 of which came from the free throw line. The senior is just having an amazing season. Alex Sharp ended up with 7 points. Owen Morris drilled a couple of three-pointers. He ended up with 6 points for Frontier as they continue their winning ways. Well, the Pioneer boys, they had their opportunity to take on Smith Academy. Smith Academy knocked off Greenfield, but they weren't able to knock off Pioneer. Final score was 55-48. Still a very good game by Smith Academy. You know, they have a kid who went on fire in that one. Carter Woodward ended up drilling 7 3-pointers in the first half to keep his team in it. But it wasn't enough because they couldn't stop the Pioneer Panthers. Point guard Garrett Cody ends up with 22 points and 9 steals for Pioneer. Also, there's another kid who really stepped it up in this one, and that, my friends, was Jared Hubbard. You know, when you got a guy who's putting it in the hole, he ends up scoring those 7 3-pointers. You got to find somebody who's going to be in this guy's pocket. Well, a young guy by the name of Jared Hubbard ends up getting the job. Coach calls on him to come in and take care of Woodard, and that's exactly what he did do to Woodward, and he ended up doing what he needed to do to shut this kid down. And by the way, he still ended up with 12 points himself. Jared Hubbard ends up with a huge game and maybe could be the main reason why the Pioneer Panthers beat Smith Academy on Thursday night. Also, Zach Fox ended up with 8 points, pulled down 8 rebounds. Pioneer escaped that win, but they had one guy who was sick who's been a big part of that team, and that was Troy Emond. He was out with an illness. Turners Falls, they took on Athollan boys basketball, picked up the 65-31 victory. Very nice job, and a season high by Ryan Kaczynski. That's right. He ends up with 12 points on the season, 12 points on the game, and that is a nice job for him, getting his best game of the year. So a nice job by Ryan and a nice job by Turners Falls. They end up winning. Anthony Peterson, he ended up in double digits with 10 points. Tyler Lavin, Jaden Whiting had 9 points apiece. Ryan Campbell with 6, and Kyle Dodge with 5 for Turners in the victory. Well, Belchertown took on Mohawk in boys basketball. Belchertown picked up the 20-point victory in this one. It was a nice win by the Orioles. Mohawk was led by Anthony Moffitt's 11 points. Sean Davenport ended up with 9, Owen Cross with 8, and Jackson Hicks with 6 in the loss. Well, Bay State Academy, they are a good team, and they took on the Franklin County Tech boys team. And boy, it was all Bay State Academy in this one. They won 74-47. Nice win by these guys. You know, when you ask Coach Tim Artis of the Franklin County Tech what the problem was, and he said that these guys could shoot outside. They weren't missing nothing throughout the night. It was catch and shoot, and everything was going in the basket. Jared Bergman ended up with 13 points, pulled down 4 rebounds for the Eagles. As of Thursday, 6-5 on the year, 2-2 in the league. Garrett Cole registered 9 points, 13 rebounds. Sim Manietti ends up with 8 points. Marcus Sanders knocked in 7, along with 6 boards and 4 assists. So, there you have it. Franklin County Tech took it on the chin to Bay State Academy. 74-47 on Thursday of last week. Well, the Tech girls continue their winning ways on Thursday night. They took on Dugan. Final score was 44-27. Season high for Desiree Doan. That's right. She lifted the Franklin County Tech School to their 4th win in a row, and they're now over 500 at 6-5, 3-1 in their division. You know, she's only a sophomore. Desiree Doan ended up with 15 points. Great job by her. She really stepped it up on the floor, says Sean Knightley, the coach of Doan. Also says that the rhythm was really good, and he was very pleased with his team's defense as well. Isabel Duga ended up with 10 points in the win. Jordan Herbert ends up with 7 points. Jemmy Cruz ends up with 6. Jocelyn Crowningshield with 4. Freshman guard Gracie Rosenberg got her first career varsity points off the bench. She did it in the 4th quarter. Well, Lee High School, they really handed it over to Turners Falls. Final score was 64-30. It was a tough one. Turners Falls did receive 7 points from Dabney Rollins. Sarah Waldron had 2 threes. She ended up with 6. Haley Bogus and Lily Spira ended up with 5 points apiece for the Thunder in the loss. So there you have it. There was a lot of action that went on during the big day on Thursday. And some of the other girls who were able to score in that Turners League girls game include Carissa Fleming with 2 points, Lindsay Whiteman with 2, and Alana Spira ends up with 1. What else we got here for the ladies? Anything else? All right, that's good. Well, we ended up having some skiing action that went on Thursday as well. That's right, we did. And it was all about Taylor Loomis. She wins again, and her teammate, Erin LaFond, ended up 4th. And I'll tell you right now, this team is really doing well from Mohawk. For the second time in 3 races, Taylor Loomis ruled the mountain over at Berkshire East on Thursday of last week. She's a beautiful standout sophomore who is a very good skier, and she is just on a roll right now. Her time was 35.05 seconds. Loomis and the Warriors received plenty of support from senior Erin LaFond, who wasn't far behind on Thursday. The team's captain crossed the finish line. She ends up with a time of 38.36 seconds. Also, after Loomis and LaFond, there was a trio of skiers that finished close together. How about a 7th grader in Emily Sissom? She ended up doing well. Yes, congratulations to her. Maya Grant is in there too, and Lydia Sargent. So those girls did it well on Thursday to lead Mohawk. Frontier's top finisher in the girls slalom ended up being Ariana Hillman. She had her best outing of the young season. The freshman moved to the top 10. She ended up with a time of 40.43 seconds. Hillman's performance was 4th best in the North Division. Maddie Raymond was the team's number 2 scorer, registering a 22nd place performance, 13th in the Northern Division with a time of 52.33 seconds. Also, Paige Moriarty ends up 51st overall, 32nd in the North with a time of 1 minute and 4 seconds. Well, on the boys' side, Mohawk senior Bennett Bisaya snagged the top local honors on Thursday's race. His time of 25.39. That ended up putting him 9th overall, 5th in the North, his 2nd consecutive 5 finish. That's right, so top 5 for this guy, getting things done. Warriors put 5 skiers in the top 20, including Stravino. He ended up in there, as well as that Weston Den Oden. Yep, right on the heels there with a time of 27.38 seconds. Also racing well was Nico Oresta, ends up in there, as well as Michael Harrison. So there you go, the top skiers for Frontier for the 3rd straight meet. Ben Martino gets in again. He nabbed 23rd overall, 11th in the South Division, posting a time of 27.25. Also, another gentleman from Frontier had a time of 29.5 seconds, and that was Ben Majewski. So congratulations goes out to those guys. Well, we're rolling right along here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, and we now slide into Friday. That's right, on Friday, we're right back at it again. Well, the girls basketball team at Frontier, they end up getting to the 500 mark. Frontier Regional, their coach, Rick Recor, set some goals for his team prior to their game on Friday night against Smith Academy. And boy, the girls responded. Final score, 48-24, they win. Now, they're at the halfway point of the season, and they're at 500 at 5-5. So now, if you can duplicate this, then they have a chance to get to tournament. So this was a very big win for them over Smith Academy to be able to get ready for the second half of the season. According to their coach, he says, I feel at this time we've started to turn the page. We're on a positive side of things right now. We see that there's a clear understanding between us coaches and the players. Things are really starting to happen right now, and we are in a pretty good position. And he feels very confident that his girls are going to get this done. Amelia Sobieski had another double-double. That's right. How about 12 points, 14 rebounds, and even 5 block shots? Amelia Sobieski has been on fire. Livia Dean ended up with 11 points and 12 boards and 2 block shots. Caitlin Mackin ended up with 11 points. Charlotte Doulette ended up with 10 rebounds, also a point and 1 block shot. Ariana Walker ends up with 6 points, and Marie Demon ends up with 5 points and several assists for the Red Hawks. Nice win by them. Well, Pioneer, the girls took on East Hampton High School. They picked off a victory. Final score was 50-36. Pioneer's leading scorer was Paige Loftman and Olivia Rowe. They each hit double figures for the Panthers in this one. They both have done a great job throughout the year, and Meg Burrington has been very pleased with the way these two girls have played. Loughman finished with 17 points, including 5 steals, 3 assists, while Rowe ended up with 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 blocked shots. Also, Steph Scoville ends up with 9, 5 steals, and 5 assists. Also, Elena Sesajanan ends up getting 4 points, as well as Abby Briggs, Autumn Flagg, and Sarah Johnson each had a couple points in the win for Pioneer. Well, Pope Francis, they took on Turner's Falls. Turner's Falls had an opportunity to pick up a victory. This is a game where the girls gave 100%, and they got beat by Pope Francis. Final score, 44-43. Wow, tough one. And this was in Turner's Falls in front of the home crowd. The crowd really was thinking that this is going to be the opportunity to pick up the first win, and they came up just short. What a tough week for Turner's Falls basketball, especially this one right here, where every girl gave 100% according to their coach, Ed Marvel. He also says it's hard to play 100% and still come up short, but it happened because these girls played their hearts out and never gave up. Dabney Rollins ended up with 11 points to lead the Thunder. Lily Spira, Haley Bogus ended up with 8 points. Also, Carissa Fleming ended up with 7. It was a tough loss for the Thunder. Well, in boys swimming, there was boys swimming and girls swimming. Let's get right to the girls here. They took on Ludlow, and Ludlow ended up beating the girls 112-48. One thing we can say is Jade Tyler and Olivia Whittier did win a pair of events, though. Tyler ended up winning the 100 butterfly in a time of 1 minute and 11 seconds. She captured also the 500 free with a time of 6 minutes and 8 seconds. She partnered with Allison Wheeler, Whittier, and Lillian Poirier. They won the 200 medley with a time of 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Whittier captured the 50 free with a time of 28.57 seconds. She also ended up doing well in winning the 100 breaststroke with a time of 1 minute and 17 seconds. And on the boys' side, hey, we've been saying his name all year long, Cam Bradley. Yes, he broke his own record in the 100 butterfly. He did, folks, and Turner's still got beat 100-51. Bradley won the 100 butterfly, broke his own record. It's now 59.52 seconds. This kid is on fire. He ended up capturing the 200 freestyle with a time of 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Nick Martin was the other winner of the day for the Thunder. He had a time of 6 minutes and 50 seconds in the 500 free. Cam Bradley, wow, this kid getting it done in the pool at Turner's Falls High School. So there we have it. Lots of scores, lots of action that went on. A lot of girls were getting it done. We had all of our folks that did well in the swimming pool. And what I'd like to do right now is give you guys a little bit of a recap of how some of our teams are doing as of Friday, okay? So this is like the recap of the week for you on where some of these standings go. In boys basketball, in the Hampshire League North, leading the way with a record of 9-1, Frontier Regional Boys Basketball, 4-0 in the league. Greenfield, as of their victory, their losses last week, both to Smith Academy and Hopkins, they're now 6-4 and 2-2 in the league in the North. Mohawk 4-7, 2-2 in the league. Smith Academy 4-7, 2-2 in the league, and Athol is 2-9, 0-4 in the Hampshire League North. Now in the Hampshire League South, leading the way with a record of 10-1, qualified for tournament, Pioneer Valley Regional, and they are 5-0 in the league. Mahar, they're just a couple games behind. They're 7-4, 3-2 in the league. Turner's 6-6 at 2-2. Hopkins 6-6 at 1-3 in the league, and Belchertown is 3-7, 0-4 in the league. Franklin County Tech in the Tri-County League North, they are in third place with a 6-5 overall record, 2-2. They're a game behind Bay State Academy, who right now is 8-1 on the season. In girls basketball, let's run down the standings of what we have here at the halfway point. And some of the teams have already played over their half already. Here we go. Greenfield High School, 11-1. They're leading the way in the Franklin County North. They're 4-0. Frontier, 5-5 overall, but 4-1 in the league. Marhar, 6-4 overall, 2-2 in the league. Hopkins girls are 8-4, but they're 1-3 in the league. And Athol, 2-8, 0-4 in the league. In the girls' Franklin County League South, Ware leads the way, followed by Putnam. Pioneer is third place in their division. They're at 2-2, 6-5 overall. Turner's is 0-11 on the year. In the West, we have Mohawk at 2-2. They are a game behind McCann Tech and Pope Francis in their division. Also in the North, the Franklin County Tech girls are in second place, and they are looking very good with a 3-1 record, 6-5 overall. In hockey, we got Green Wave. Them and Belchertown are battling it. Greenfield has 10 points on the year. Belchertown has 15, but here's their records. Belchertown's 8-1-2. Greenfield's 8-0-2, but Belchertown is 7-0-1 in the league. Greenfield is 4-0-2 in the league. Boys swimming, Turner's Falls, the boys team and the girls team are both down there in their standings. 4-4 for the boys. They're 2-2 in the league. Turner's girls are 4-4 and 2 in the league. In wrestling, Franklin County Tech boys, they are leading the way in their league. They're 9-1, as well as Marhar at 9-1. But the Tech is 3-0 in the league. Marhar is 1-1. Frontier 8-2, and they're 1-1 in the league. And Mohawk is 1-8-1 in wrestling, 1-2 in the Tri-County League. So there you have it. We got some good things that are happening, and congratulations going out to all of these great teams that we have right here in Franklin County. So teams have already qualified for playoffs. We have individual things that are happening. New record for Raegan Hickey, Greenfield High School, the new female leading scorer. Cam Bradley, not only did he break a record, he even broke his own record earlier this week as well. So these kids are really getting it done. And this is why we do this show each and every week for you right here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Well, I'm going to just say one thing before I wrap things up for you. I just want to say that it's been a fun time being able to do this show with you. And we want you to know that you can be a part of this show too. How? Just go to gctv.org or the FCAT. That's fcat.tv. You go, you log in, you can be able to get yourself set up. You can watch it from your tablet. You can watch it from your computer. You can even watch it on local access TV too, because we have our scheduled times where it's on as well. It's the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. The information's right behind me. You can get it right here, gctv.org 24/7. The Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. And thank you to the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant, also to Denny's Pantry, also to Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, and by Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turner's Falls. And to our producer, John Meisner, thank you for the great job with the cameras. Until we meet again next week, we want you to make sure that you support your local athletes. I'm Bobby C., saying so long from the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.